Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. We're going to be making this together with this tutorial, but we are going to be doing it in a little different style, something I'm calling a DIY tutorial. Let me explain. So yes, and welcome back to my channel if you've watched before, but if not, welcome and seeing us for the first time. I'm Tom and this is Return TP, and in this video we will be making this product that I showed you in the introduction. Now, I'm going to be doing this slightly differently, and I thought the way that we could do it is something that I'm calling a DIY tutorial. The reason why I'm trying this is because, if you can follow with this little story, when you start learning how to code, you do tutorials, and you get shown through bit by bit how to make a product. But every tutorial guides you in the next progress of this app. Great stuff. You need to know these things. However, when you then move on, you're making your own projects, you're working for a client, a company, whatever it may be, you then come up against something that you don't know how to do. You've forgotten or you've never done it before. I need to, bring a map into this. How do I get my location? Oh, I need to do a for in loop and I've forgotten how to do it again. Okay, so you Google it, you YouTube it, you find someone explaining it. You go, oh yeah, that's great. I know how to do this now. And then you apply that to your project. So you're not being guided. You're taking these informations and piecing them together to make what you need. That's exactly the process that I'm hoping to replicate here, because I'm going to show you a project and then I'm not going to tell you how to make this. What I'm going to do is actually show you how to make the individual elements that make up the app and then see how you get on, because I'm really hoping that this is going to help improve people's learning and maybe take you from that step of having to be guided each way to just thinking that little bit more and having it, sink in hopefully a bit better, helping your programming skills increase. But each week we're going to improve on this. This week we're really just focusing on stacks, playing around with images a little bit and just getting comfortable with using those. And then we're going to move on step by step next week, every Thursday, as I update videos, as we build this application out. So that'd be great. And at the end, I'm going to put my Instagram up where you can show me what you've made. I'd be really interested to see your progress and where you go, which direction you take it, because it's really going to be open to you to apply these elements however you want. So let's get stuck into it. Let's get into Xcode and I'll show you how it works. Let's get straight into it, shall we? Starting off here in Xcode, we're going to start a new project. It's going to be an app and call it whatever you want. The title that I gave the project initially is My Cups, so use that title if you want or change it to whatever it was. I'll show you what it's about literally just in a second when we get this up and running, so you can decide what your title is going to be. But I'm just going to call this Tester Cups. We're going to use SwiftUI with Swift as the language. Everything else will be down to you. Save it wherever you're going to put it. Let's replace that. And here we are in our blank project. So let's have a little run through of what I made, which is what we're going to follow along with. So it's an app basically that I did to show everyone what cups I have at home, because that would be a great app. $10.99 on the App Store. Go download it anytime. So this is basically just an image with a title of what I call the cup, what kind of cup it is, and the date that I bought it. And there's a few of them. Okay. We're going to recreate this. And as I said, this is going to be just a starter project for beginners getting used to SwiftUI. So the whole idea of this initial stage is to build this view, getting us familiar with using text, using images, and stacks as well. So H stacks and V stacks. And that's basically what we're going to aim to get from this. But like I said, I'm not going to show you how to make this project. I'm going to show you how each element is made. So the stacks, the images, etc. You take that and apply that to this project to get the result that you want. But because of that as well, make it look and experiment with how you want it to be. Don't just do it exactly how I've got it. Make it your own and play around with it, especially when I show you each of these elements. You can then do what you want with it then and give it your own style. So initially, the first thing you're going to do, so let's say you get given a project. This is the project, this is my design, I'm the designer, and I give you this. The first thing that you need to be doing is breaking this down. So break it down. into what elements, so design-wise it looks as it is, but what elements, how does this work as code? What would you need to put in here? So we've got text at the top, some kind of title, we've got images, we've got this text here. So again, so we've got stacks of text. So horizontally, that looks like it works in one go. Vertically, horizontally again. And then obviously this is scrollable as well. So something that we call a scroll view. We're going to need that as well. Okay, so roughly what we've got to do. Let's break it down now and look at each element and how we'd make it. So first of all, let's start with text. How do we work with text in SwiftUI? Well, let's get that out of the way and let's have a look here. Our prime example is right here. If we get rid of this, we're going to be left with text. So text is done by a keyword text inside our body, and there's a VStack already set up, so don't worry about any of that just a moment. But text, literally within inside our brackets, we've got our text in there, and it has to be within these quotation marks, okay? But the thing about text is not so much just that, because that's pretty standard. It's the modifiers that we explain to it, and I don't know how familiar you are with modifiers, but they're done simply by full stop, correct way of saying it, and then changing things. So, for example, the font. And I'll go through each of the ones that you will need for this project as well. So first thing I would say is we want to make it big. That title was very big, wasn't it, of what we're going to need. So to do that, you're probably best using either two things. So if you press full stop there, you can see we've got different things here. So footnote, caption, large title, title, subheadline, caption. Okay, so do with this as you will. Now, maybe you want to have it as a headline. Does that come out how you want it? Yes or no? You decide. And then, or do you want it as a title? Well, it's a bit bigger, maybe not as bold. But so you could do it that way. Otherwise, we would recommend doing it with .system. And you'll notice here in the autocomplete, we've got system size, weight, and design. Now with the size, make this as you will. So let's go 40. Wow, it's big. You want to go and make it even bigger. Let's go 60. So we get the size, get the idea of that, don't we? So that's the size. So good way of doing that. How about the font weight? If again you press the full stop, we get our options here. We get a bit heavy, a bit light. There we go, light text, or maybe we want it bold. Or do we want it heavy? Again, the option's up to you. So have a little play around with that. So that is text, and that will help us. Majority with all the text that's on our screen. So looking back, bring this back. So we've got our font title at the top. We've also got all of this text here. So as you can see, let's just straight this one across here. So in here, you're going to have that blue mug that was shown on our preview. Let's bring that back up again, sorry. Let's make sure that you can see that. So, okay, so blue mug. Okay, well that would be what was in the text. The font, the system size is probably going to be a bit smaller, or maybe, what should we say? A title, a headline maybe? We'll give you that sort of font. And then the font weight, well, it's probably not really changed much, maybe just a standard. Maybe it hasn't really even been included in that. So experiment. See if you want to make. Do you want to make it bolder? Do you want to make it smaller? How do you want it to look? So you decide how. Play around with that and see what results you get. The one thing I will show you though is the scroll view. So we've got this, and that's all well and good. But what we want to do now is we want to be able to do a scroll view. Let's get rid of our VStack just for the moment, because it's going to show you something of why stacks are so important, and because this is what we do. scroll view. And scroll view is done by literally typing scroll view, and then you've got your parentheses there, your brackets. However, that's not going to work so well because you'll notice now it's opened up a second view because it places them on two different pages. It thinks you're describing two different screens. We are not. We want to have them on the same screen. We want to have our text looking up here at the top with our scroll view underneath it. See, the text isn't in the scroll view, it's above it. And we do this with stacks, vertical stacks and horizontal stacks. And this is basically how we're going to do the rest of this view. So if we then put this in, so V stack, and then put the scroll view inside of that, there we go. And if there was stuff on there, you better see, actually, let's just do that. What am I doing? Get rid of that. Let's just copy and paste this. See, and now if we run into the content view, you notice, oh yeah, we're scrolling it. Okay, so can you see there? So scroll view is very easy to implement. Okay, so that's literally just the keyword that prevents these, and everything you want inside that scroll view goes within there. Simple enough. So we've got text, we've got our scroll view. Now let's play around with our stacks. Okay, because this is what's going to help us build the rest of this view out. So VStack, we've just got familiar with that. Literally everything inside this is now stacked vertically. Okay, so let's put the text and then the scroll view, okay, underneath it vertically. Of course, we could do this horizontally as well. Okay, so if I get all this text now and go without a space, hstack, there we go, horizontally, still in the scroll view, but now we have a horizontal one. But what happens if on this horizontal one, well, I want this text, that's great, but now I want these two vertically in that stack. Well, let's try, shall we? There we go. We've got a V stack, we've got inside our H stack, which is inside our scroll view. Yeah? And then do we want to go another level? Let's do another couple of texts. And now we're going to do another H stack inside of our V stack, which is inside our H stack. Stacks everywhere. So you see how we've got our horizontal stack, which has a V stack, which then contains another H stack. Confused yet? But we can do, see how I put the stacks within stacks, and that's how we can create complicated views. But actually, if you think about it, it's quite simple. So looking over here, can you see how this works? So we've got inside the scroll view, we've got a H stack. So horizontally, we've got the image, we've got our text. Then we've got a V stack. So this text is all within a V stack in the H stack, giving us this. And then inside this V stack is another H stack with two texts, one with our coffee mug and one with our date. Okay? Does that make sense? What I would recommend doing now is playing around with these stacks. So just get a bunch of text images, what you're going to do, and just play around with making one of these cells using stacks. So type out the text, then put it in a stack, then put another stack inside that, and play around. See what you can make. All of this is done within the same, using these stacks. So try that out. And now this leads us to the last part, really, of this view, which is the images. Okay, so we've looked at the text, we can make that. We've looked at stacks, we can make that. And we've also looked at our scroll view, so we can make that. Now, let's have a look at our images and how we use images. So I'm going to, let's see where we are at with this. So that's our VStack. So let's get rid of that. And inside our VStack, we are simply going to put an image. Now, where do we get this image name from? See, it's got a missing argument because it needs a name to give this image. Now, the way that we do this is by putting images into our assets folder, okay? And we are going to do that by going to our desktop. I've got them here. And I've got in the comments below, in the description, I've got a link to my GitHub, and inside that is two folders. One is called, what's it called? CutPix 1 and CutPix 2, which has just got some JPEGs just of some cups, the images that I've used in this app. But make your own, take your own, put them onto your computer, and then do this. So in File, in the storage, just grab your images and drag them across into the assets catalog. So here, and you'll notice they all appear here for you, okay? And the important thing you want to look at is what they're called. So, for example, this one is called Blue Mug. So if I copy that and paste it inside my image name, let's see what we get. We get an image everywhere. So how do we do this? Well, one of the first modifiers you want to apply to an image nearly every time is resizable. Now, all that does is it means that it allows Swift to say, it's okay, I'm going to now take this image and I'm going to resize it, okay? Otherwise, it just brings it in the normal size, whatever it was, but small, big, in comparison to the phone. It just takes the size of the image and just brings it in as it is. So we want to be able to shape it. So resizable is always a first. Then after that, maybe you're going to want to change the aspect of it. So if you do aspect ratio, I would get rid of this initially. We don't have to worry about that. And focus on content mode. Now again, if you press a full stop, you're going to see the different options that we have for this. Just like experiment between fit and fill. See which one you think works best for your layout. And then when the preview is reloaded, there we go. I don't know why it took so long, but here we go. Fit, you can see it kept the aspect ratio of the picture to what it is to fit within the frame, the bounds of the screen. Otherwise, you've got fill, I think it is. Yeah, fill. Change that, and you'll notice it's filled the screen now to the maximum that it possibly can. Okay, horizontally almost, this one. Yeah, so have a little look at what you're going to do. So I'm going to say fit. I am also going to say the frame. Okay, so if you do frame, you can then manually start adjusting all the things. And if I go back there, sorry, we'll look at the autocomplete. Can you see here you've got the width, the height, and the alignment in the autocomplete? So start typing any of those in, and that will give you what you can modify it by. Okay, so I'm going to do the height. And CG Float is looking for a number. So let's do 50, okay? Here we go. Let's resize the frame to 50. Want a bit bigger so we can see what we're doing just for this instance? We're going to make the height 200, okay? Modifying that will give you the height of it. And you can do that while it's keeping to the height, it's also keeping to the aspect ratio that we've just asked it for. So hopefully that, if you're following it so far, that all makes sense of what you can do. But again, we're going to experiment with this in your own app, okay? So play around with it. The last thing that we're going to want to do though is in the app, you'll notice that we've rounded the corners, and we can do that again, up to you if you want to do this or not, by a new modifier called corner radius. And in that radius, again, it's looking for a number. Experiment with what you like. So I'm going to take 10. Oh, it's just taking off a little bit of it. Should we do 30? Well, that's bigger now. You know, do over anyway. Go 50 if you want. There you go. Nice and rounded. So it just smooths off the image. So that looks like it's pretty much it. All of the elements. So please go back over through the video, skip through of each of the elements and how they work, okay? So we've briefly looked at text, we've looked at stacks, we've looked at scroll view, and we've also looked at images briefly, giving us a brief summary of how to use each of these elements. Now, I want you, like I've said, I repeated the whole way through the video, take this little introduction to each element and see how that applies to making a project like this. Okay, it's just a simple screen, but it's going to give you more than enough if you're new, just to get familiar with the basic building blocks of bringing in views and modifying views with SwiftUI. We will be now pushing this further. Each week, each Thursday when I release a video, we're going to be taking this and expanding it. So we're going to go further. We're going to be looking at buttons, going into new views, presenting data across these. And obviously, while we're building this view individually, we will also be looking at how it should be done, which is making new views and then using those views into it, passing data into them, which will create all of this. Sounds a bit abstract maybe if you're completely new to this, but it will make sense when we go through it. So I hope that was okay to follow. I hope it makes sense, and I really hope that learning this way helps you expand your skills in programming. So thanks for watching and going into the outro. So that's the end of our video. Thank you very much for following along on our first project together. This is going to carry on every Thursday. I'm going to be updating and building out this application with new features, covering new subjects as we try and broaden your horizons with your programming skills. I really do hope that this style of learning is helpful to you. Please let me know if it was good, if there's anything to change, subjects that you want to cover. That would be really great and useful. And again, like I said before earlier in the video, please do like, subscribe, give us the little alert button as well, ring the bell, just so that you can see when the next tutorial comes out. And like I said again, Instagram, the pig codes, please comment and message me. I would love to see what you're making. I'd love to see which direction you take this. And again, message me on any features that you feel that you would want me to cover in future tutorials, and also the directions you think this could go. So yes, thank you again for watching. Take care.